Okay.
Oh, we're back. McDole came a second week in a row.
Yeah, same clothes.
Same clothes. Not like that ever
Same
changed
drink.
anyways, yeah. Yeah, you haven't even finished that one yet. That's
It's called
actually
efficiency.
offensive.
It's called efficiency.
Holy shit.
Wearing the same thing.
Oh, I thought you meant sitting on the same drink for a week straight.
To be alive if you can't do that.
Wow, it's such a, very flattering. Tyler looks all right with this whole situation. And
They gave me
Devin.
they gave me more hair than I actually
When I
have.
made
Yeah,
that logo,
Devin.
when I made that logo, I'm messing the lady back and forth because like, can you give me the pedophile goatee?
He gave me like early aughts Affleck mustache goatee look.
My buddy calls
then Tyler comments.
the Portland toilet seat.
Tyler comments, can I get my beard more red?
Well, that was Gian's thing. She's like, it looks like you, but your beard's brown. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. I forgot to tell you, I got my head tattooed.
Really?
Yeah, I see that.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
It's like, remember Louis Simmons used to always say, you gotta be brutally strong. And all those videos, like, brutally strong.
Yeah.
So just as brutal strength on it, it's a 100-pound plate.
Nice. Nice. What's on the back?
A noose.
Yeah, totally.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the back
back
of the
to
head didn't hurt at
depression
all.
food.
So I was like ready for the side of the head to feel really good, and did it hurt?
Is it bad?
Oh my god, dude, it was brutal.
Side of the head.
The
did?
worst one you've
Yeah,
had?
the back of the head was the easiest one I ever had.
Yeah.
And the side of the head was very, very bad.
So that's the
Where'd you
most
get it done?
painful spot you've had?
Probably the worst. Yeah. What's that?
You have your stomach done, right?
Yeah, stomach was no
Side of your head's worse?
way worse.
I hated
yours?
my stomach.
See, everyone said that, but I never really had that problem with my stomach.
I think part of the problem for me, the front of my torso got progressively worse.
Oh, no, I'm looking at it.
And, comedian. Open mic. I think with my when I got my back done, I was just over getting tattooed. I'm in my 40s now. Like everything had changed.
You just feel things more too.
I was just over getting
Don't
tattooed.
have the threshold. You
Yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
want to do it anymore.
Well, that's even my thing too. Where I'm like, I get there and I'm like, this sucks. Like, why do I keep? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're excited to go there. You get there, and then the moment they start, you're like, holy fuck, I wish this was over. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
There's that click and then zzz,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Oh, 2 more hours to go.
yeah.
Well, I want to get sleeves done yet, but my worst so far has been definitely my ass tattoos. Those are the most painful.
Your ass tattoos,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you said?
Wait, those are the worst ones. Those were brutal. Yeah,
Do you actually have your ass tattooed?
yeah, 3 different tattoos.
You gonna show me?
And I'll show it on camera.
No, please don't.
it.
We'll do it off.
The first time you were on our show.
Yeah.
The first
yeah.
time you were on
What is
Whiskey Tango.
it?
I got, the wife has these sayings that
The
piss me
enter
off.
sign.
Yeah.
Cockpit.
Plus, a guy goes to the doctor. I'll tell you guys one. He's like, "Mate, some ass stretch." He says, "It's right by the entrance." Doctor goes,
my
"As long as
dad's
you keep
name.
calling that entrance, not an exit, you're gonna have problems." I got one that says, "What do you mean?" across my ass cheek. Because that was every time I asked the wife, "So what do you mean?" I'm like, "You know exactly what I mean." But I went to Kansas City and got it. Because we're from Winnipeg, even though I'm South Winnipeg. The tattoo artist was like, she put on her social media, a true believer from Winnipeg came because Justin Bieber's song name is What Do You Mean? And he's from Winnipeg. So she hashtagged me as Justin Bieber. So my ass tattoos are on Instagram.
That fucking rules.
And then
Holy
the other
shit,
one
that's
I
funny.
got Elmer Fudd putting a shotgun at my asshole and saying, "Come out of the you wasty rabbit." And I got Bugs Bunny on the other side saying, "Who, me?" But yeah.
Are you being serious right now? I can't tell if this is a bit
I've
or
seen
if this
it.
is
No, I've
real.
seen it.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know. I didn't know you had that.
Bachelor parties, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, that one there, the wife told me, Danielle told me before I left the bachelor party, you get another, because it was me and my buddy Chris, we went to Kansas City together to the American Royal Barbecue. She's like, you go to another bachelor, or you go again and get an ass tattoo, like, you don't have a house to live in. I'm like, can't be that bad. We get in the vehicle and I book a tattoo artist and can wear for the whole day. The guy couldn't even speak English. And I'm like, I don't care. We're just getting ass tattoos.
What did he speak?
Vietnamese or something. Shit. Fucking dude, we just gave him some pictures. He way
In
overcharged
Kenora?
us.
Like,
In Kenora.
he's a
We
Vietnamese
booked
guy.
him for the whole day.
Jeez.
Yeah. I get back. Yeah, she sent me some like not so nice messages. Like not like you pissed me off. Like she's like, I'm hurt, or like I'm like, at least get mad. Not
It's
the
like
I'm,
you're gonna be.
You're, like,
Yeah.
you're hurt. My ass is hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, you come back to a bachelor party with 5 dudes and all your asses hurt. It's kind of weird. Yeah, we all walk in the restaurant kind of like, oh.
So many references.
I have the noose on the back of my head, and fucking Deloli is like, is that like a racial thing or something? I was like, "What are you retarded? Why would I? Why? Even if it was, why the fuck would I put that on my own skin on my head?" And I was like, "No, it's not, man. But thanks for putting that in my head, though. I appreciate it."
Yeah, thank you very
weird
much
mistake?
for that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Good Deloli tattoo. When we trained in the garage, like the small long garage.
Yeah,
He was
me.
picking something up, and it was before you.
that's right. I was
He was picking something up, and he's got a good back piece. And one of our St. Paul's football kids was like, "Does that guy have a tramp stamp?"
Oh fuck. Yeah.
And it got back to Deloli, and this was like younger, little, not as tame as the guy we know now. And I think he was like ready to tear the head off the kid. You remember who that was?
Yeah, I don't remember who said it to him, but I remember that happening.
That's funny though.
Well, so
Yeah.
when we got those tattoos in Kenora, Chris, he was the groom.
Still not off this, eh?
No, because I was just thinking that about the making fun of tramp stamp. So he got a Lola, because we all got Looney Tunes characters. How about Russ, who's in his 40s, got a Kiss My Taz and a Tasmanian Devil covering his whole ass cheek. He's never had a tattoo in his life. But Chris Lambert, anyways, got a Lola doll from Space Jam, bent over like a pinup doll.
I like that you just go all out there and put first and last.
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
It's like
He listens.
addresses, phone numbers.
Yeah.
This is the same thing that happened last time with that lady's cabin.
Hey,
Where
don't
he was
trust me.
like
Don't
giving her
trust me.
address and postal code and stuff.
So when they put the stencil on him, I went there and I moved the stencil up. So now her tail and stuff sticks out the top of his pants like a tramp stamp.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
he
what-
didn't know. But
Me and Jan were talking about that, referring to the thing where he's like, "Oh yeah, she has a cabin like right over here, and this is where she lives, and whatever." Where it's like that's just the way that country folk talk, though. Where they just be like, "Oh well, I was talking to Beeks, and he lives like right over by you, actually." And it's just like this is information that they need to have for some reason in the country, and I don't know why that is, but they need to know
because
these
we're miles
things.
and miles
Refer-
apart.
like-
referring to their mom and dad is
Yeah.
like just mom and dad. Like it's gonna be my mom and dad. They'd just be like, "Oh, I went to mom and dad's house."
Yeah,
You're like,
that's a good
who's
one,
mom
too.
and dad?
They'll be like, "Oh, well, I was driving by this the grain elevator, and that's actually where his cousin used to work there too." There, and they'll be like, "Oh, really? Okay." Well, it actually is important to them too for some reason. Like it's just a really weird country thing.
You fucking city folks.
What do we want to get into this episode a little bit? Should we start with some questions then?
Yeah, I got a question here that I figured we'd get into last time. One guy asked, which I'm sure we'll have, why do you guys hate the lightweight athletes so much?
Who said that? we did?
Because they're pussies.
I do. But
You do?
no,
You
I'm
do?
kidding. No, I'm kidding. I can't. Last year, before I was the Strongman Corp representative, I would have said that. But now I don't. I love it.
Now we're all welcoming.
I guess we put some hate on them on this podcast.
Did we?
I don't know, you do. You're such a big bully.
I'm fucking big. What do you want? You know, that's I get to be a bully when you're this size. No, I'm just the lightweight athletes are fine, but there's definitely like lightweight athlete behavior. Which which you don't get from the heavyweight guys. Like
Right.
you definitely will see and hear them. Like, I'm trying to think of an example, but
Because
don't-
they reference it all the time.
Here, I think any Wilk scores or that bullshit in strongman should never be a part.
no, and it won't be.
Yeah.
You think it will be?
It wasn't your log comp.
What?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it was. And I bitched about it. I'm like, what do you mean we want to?
Well, I
Wilks?
also had the heaviest log, so it didn't
Yeah,
matter.
no, yeah. According to, I'm like, fuck Wilkes.
no,
We're in
no,
strongman.
nope. Just absolute. I had the heaviest
Yeah.
log, so
You did, yeah, you did.
well, talk to Thrones about that.
So
I
what both
did.
you guys are talking about is actually kind of the point
strongman.
for at least mine and Tyler's answer to this question is that things like Wilkes and the lightweight athletes always want to be like, well, pound for pound, I'm stronger.
That's what I got to mess.
well, pound for pound, it's not pound for pound, man. It's strong man. So have the biggest numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Wilkes lifting. It's powerlifting. Have
Yeah.
the biggest numbers.
Right.
And if you follow powerlifting or you follow strongman, like you don't want to come home and throw on ESPN and see guys doing shit that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see kind of superhuman type
Exactly.
stuff.
You don't care what it takes. You want to see the biggest weight moved by the biggest dude.
Yeah.
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 And that's for the weight class stuff. Like I like seeing really good U105 guys. Like you watch Clash of the Coast, and those guys are
that's
having
nuts.
fucking bananas numbers. And I like watching guys even on our local shows, like say like the 9. We don't really have any U80 guys, but U90 105. When it's like they're doing shit where it's like, damn, like that's fucking impressive.
When we had some lightweight guys place really high at Manitoba Strongman.
Yeah, so that's always cool when that happens.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen enough, and they need to. That's I want to see more from the lighter guys to make an effort to hang. Just generally,
And I've
You know
done
what
that.
I
I've
mean?
competed in the 105, and because I'm a smaller dude, and but I never, like I've said this before, I never was satisfied winning a 105 show because I didn't win the Open.
Right.
You go, I won the 105, so that's cool, but I still didn't win the Open. I got second or third place in the Open, so really, what is it worth?
Yeah.
Like to me, it wasn't worth as much.
The short answer to this is that we're dinosaurs, all four of us, and that we kind of harken back to a time in the sport where it was like maybe you got over and under 105 as weight class.
That was what it was. It was over and under.
Maybe got
We
that.
never did.
But lots of times you
Yeah,
did.
there
Brent
was
Ham threw that in,
nobody-
so
Lots of
he
times
could
you
get a
didn't.
trophy.
So it's hard to be
Brent
like
Ham weight class.
it's hard to really give a shit sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're used to this mentality where it's like, well, we were all thrown in there at the same time. Why does it have to be different now?
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously, the PC part of me is like, hey, but it's better that everyone can compete and stuff. And I get that. Obviously, it's better that there's more opportunities for people. To
Yeah,
compete,
certainly
but-
for growth of the sport,
Yeah,
it's
of course.
it's better. Yeah,
Because it can be intimidating. You get a guy who wants to start going at 170 pounds, and he's like, I want to learn the sport. But at any show, if we did it the way we used to do it, where it was all open, he couldn't take any event and do one rep.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, well, I need 3, 4, 5 years training to get in there. Well, yeah, that's intense. So I guess the weight class allows him to build into that.
Yeah, but I remember watching the Arnold Am for the first time, and that's when John was in it, and there were some guys that were under 105
Paul Valancourt.
that had phenomenal numbers.
Yep.
And my only answer would turn around to that again. It's asterisking it, right? It's saying like it's giving us some sort of caveat on like I would do better if I was 100 pounds more, and you're like, well, maybe there's a point to carrying that much weight too, right? You know, so like, would you be better if that's the case? But those guys that would walk in at that were super strong, it was motivation to turn around to like, or I would go to John and be like, that guy's 100 pounds less than you,
Right.
and he's stronger than you. Like you should step up. So as long as the big guys, I think, keep continuing to push those absolute numbers through the roof, like you said, then I think that it is going to be a clashing of that because they're not going to have an answer for, like you said, a 400-pound log strict press for whatever, you know. And I'm sure there are guys out there that do it. There is, you know.
What I don't like about the weight class thing, I'll be honest, and like I said, I competed. I don't like the 24-hour weights. We allow it. I think if you want to be hey, I'm an under 105, it should be a 1 hour weight, and you're competing at the weight you walk around at. You're not a 105. The Clash, the Coles, those guys cut from 260, 270 to
They do
230 to
some
make
crazy
that.
cuts on that shit.
Then you're not a 105. You've made the cut. Just like boxing or fighting, I think there should these rehydration clauses of 24 hours they can put on 20, 30 pounds. You're not a 160-pound fighter. You're a 200-pound fighter who cut weight because you don't want to fight guys your size.
Yeah.
You want to beat up on smaller dudes. And it's the same. And that's my opinion. I don't like.
Well,
That's the dream.
That's like IPF lifters who will run gear for 2 years, take a year off,
Yeah.
clean their system out, and then go break a couple records.
No, but if you're
And
bragging
like,
that you're
what
the
does
biggest
that mean to you?
sure.
then
yeah,
why do you have to go down a category to prove
Yeah,
it?
and just playing devil's advocate because I'm like in probably 60%
I've done the
agreement
cuts.
with it.
I've
Yeah,
done it.
yeah.
So-
But there's a part of that that's part of the competition too. When you start cutting, like that's part of the competing.
It is.
Because
it's not easy.
your other option is that you remain a 200-pound person or whatever that there is, and you know the guy they come in at two they're actually at 220 when they fight you, right?
they
So
are, yeah.
yeah.
I think
Some
a
guys fight
failed
at
cut
185.
with McDole.
Yeah.
You did a failed cut. Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
In Fargo. We're going down to Fargo competing at Fall Brawl at Shenley High School. I was competing in 242 at the time. And I kind of just knew I was there. Dumb.
So you thought
Yeah, I can feel
Well,
on 240.
I feel 241.
So we're heading south out Pembina, and there's that last Burger King. And McDole's like, hey, you don't mind if I get something, do you? I'm like, no, of course not, man. Just have it. He's like, do you want anything? I'm like, yeah, it should be good. So I got a Whopper and fries and Diet Coke for the drive to the border. And we got to weigh in that night and then compete the following morning. And I hopped on the scale at 244. So I had to compete in 275
Wow.
at 244.
At 244.
Was it 1 hour weigh in or what?
We
So-
drove.
no, it was the night before.
No, but you didn't have 1 hour to quickly cut the 2 pounds.
I just didn't bother.
give a
I came in
We
second.
did drive around looking for any gym that was open so that you could walk on the treadmill. And we were like,
The only time I ever had to cut was for nationals in AmNats in 2016, where I showed up like fucking 5 pounds heavy, same thing too, and like mostly from the drive probably. Like I always sat under. It was like 264 at the time. I sat under that, and then I remember calling probably both you guys like in a panic, being like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" And then you gave me all these tips and tricks, and like it was like there was like a bike at the gym, so hit that.
Right.
Did that for a while. Did the hot bathroom thing,
I did that
whatever.
in Portugal.
Yeah.
You guys even told me chewing gum.
Did an enema,
Spitting,
but that
spitting,
was
spitting.
That was the Bosco trick.
Yeah.
She was the queen of that.
Yeah.
I did an enema, but that was in my plans anyway to do that, so it wasn't really a big deal.
Yeah, that was just for fun.
That's gonna like it. But then I didn't make weight, and they let me compete anyway. So
Really?
Yeah. I was like a pound over, and they were like, "Yeah, it's a bathroom scale. Like we don't give a fuck." And I was like, "All right, cool."
I used to
There's
love.
a 10-pound variance.
I used to love watching some of those. Were like some of those MMA and jiu-jitsu competitions, and they would have like the scale, and I won't mention, but guy would be running them and be like 220, and he'd move the thing, and the scale would still be tipping like this, and he'd be like, "Looks good," and then like just slide it all the way to the end, and wouldn't even. And people, what? And you're like, "Yeah, 220, good, go."
You got the Cormier one where he's like pushing the towel down. You got a couple guys hold this towel up to make weights.
This was just way more obvious, and like he was just tapping it, and he's like, "Looks good," and then slide it to the end. It was just like, "Oh, okay, that's how you're doing this."
Yeah.
That's
Talk about
funny.
Sport with integrity, jiu-jitsu.
How's jiu-jitsu been for you?
Yeah, I'm fucking getting shit kicked.
Are you still?
No, I'm enjoying it. I love it. I got my shoulder hurt this week by a big guy. He rotated my bad shoulder, but whatever.
Do you feel like you're getting better or worse mobility from doing it?
Better mobility,
Like moving around and being
they're trying to they teach you these moves because the coaches I don't know, he's about 170 pounds, maybe 160 pounds, so they can move these guys. And he's trying to show you these certain moves you can do as a smaller dude, and I can't even get my legs in those positions. Like they try, okay, Devin, we're gonna bring your knee over to your head. And I'm like, I'm tapping before my knee gets close because I just can't breathe anymore. Like, we're not even in the position we need.
Devin's
and it's
like,
supposed to be a benefit.
tie my shoes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a position that benefits me. And I'm like, I'm dying here.
Yeah.
Like a massage therapist could tap you out.
Yeah.
More better than a jiu-jitsu person could.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it, though. I like it. It's a new challenge for me. It gives me something. I had trouble getting out of bed this morning and walking from my back. So it gives me an ability to do a sport that I can kind of just roll around with the injury I have. So
Yeah.
until I get better.
I did it for a little bit. And I really
It allows
liked
me,
it, yeah.
I'm getting better cardio. I feel, it still allows me to be in the gym a couple days a week. And I'm doing it with my daughters.
I tried it during.
So it's
You beat them?
father-daughter time. Yeah, they both train same place, and we.
Like
Tap 'em
Kramer,
out, though?
like
Oh,
Kramer.
No,
Kick their
just their
asses?
mom.
I tried it. I jumped in on some buddies who were doing it during COVID in like a dude's basement, and the guy that I was rolling with is a little taller than me. He's probably 240, and he's like a purple belt or whatever. So he's really good, and he's fucking like normally I'm way bigger than the guy, so I can just move them around. But he's good enough that he can just lay on top of me. So I just tapped out to him being in mount on me. I was laying there and I was trying to get him off, and I was so fucking gassed and so dead.
And they put chest pressure on you. You just can't breathe anymore.
And he wasn't even doing that. He was just sitting on me, and I was just like, I can't do anything. And I was like, all right, tap. This isn't fun anymore.
I'm gonna screw up the guy's first name, but his last name I think is Gordon, or first name is Gordon. Anyways, he's like
Ryan Gordon.
Ryan
John
Gordon.
Wayne.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
And they had him wrestling Half Thor. And you can just tell Gordon's like just goofing around,
Yeah.
like for sure, maybe trying a tad because of the size difference, but just watching, how much you're just at the mercy of things,
I
'cause
went
you just don't know
against
what you're doing. And he's gigantic. Like he's 360 pounds,
Yeah.
huge, big hands and everything else. It's a good one to watch.
I went against my coach. I finally took two classes. He's like, yeah, come roll with me. I'm like, all right. And he sat there, and I just, part of it's intimidation. I've only been doing it 4 months, so you're intimidated to should I try? What do I try? What? It's just an intimidation thing. She's a black belt, and I'm just starting. Anyways, he ended up tapping out. But before he tapped me out, he kneed me in the dick harder than I've been kneed since I was in high school. He did a rotation. He flipped over, and somehow he kneed me in the dick, so I almost puked in his face. And then Ezekiel choked me like 2 seconds later.
He probably knew he couldn't beat you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was brutal. I was literally focusing on this choke the whole way to class. I'm like showing my daughters, I'm like, guys, this is the choke you should try in class. I just learned it because the guy did it to me the week before. Yeah. So I went after it. I tapped like 4 people with this choke, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. So the whole way to class, I'm watching this certain video. I'm like, how can I do it in different positions? I didn't tell the coach I was watching this thing. And then he knees me in the dick and chokes me out with that same choke. And I'm like, this sucks shit. Like
a Google
this
ad.
is brutal, man. Like, yeah.
He knew.
I was just depressed.
You should be. You should take it a step further. You should be like slamming these motherfuckers.
We're not allowed to. I did slam my buddy Chris.
This is supposed to be no holds barred fight.
That's the only advantage I have is strength.
It's
on a lot of the guys.
it's like masters over 35 gi jiu-jitsu, like to like just roll around and be like tap and bump, and then like all of a sudden, yeah, that was good, and all of a sudden you go in there and just start suplexing guys. Like,
I'm enjoying it. It's a new challenge. So
yeah,
That's good.
Tyler's like no holds barred.
Did you end up?
Tyler.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you end up going with Swin?
No, we're supposed to go. He wanted to go last week. He was ready, and I said I was.
He
ready last week.
really? He didn't bail?
No, it was me that bailed.
Okay.
So I hurt my shoulder on Tuesday, and
I was ready to fucking.
No, he texted me, "Are we going this week?" I'm like, "I can't. I had too many things with business this week. I got robbed. We got a trailer stolen with $10,000 of material in it. And I got a bunch of shit that went bad this week, and I just couldn't. I wasn't mentally there enough to go spend 2 afternoons when I had other shit to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was. So I knew the cocksucker who stole my trailer. Fuck your whole family.
You know who it is?
Hope you all die. No, but we got them on camera, so I'm waiting for the license plates.
Oh, okay.
Just Diesel.
Yeah.
Me?
That was $20,000, so hope his whole family dies.
It's 10,000 a minute ago.
Jeez.
Well,
10,000 material and the 10,000 trailer.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think we all hope that man's whole family dies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Should we get on to another question?
Yeah. What do you got there for questions? We're gonna get into
Sorry, man. I fucking hate thieves, man. I wish I could.
Thieves?
Shoot them all.
Yeah.
Break all the damn fingers. Yeah, I got no more questions. Maybe if I check the
What's-
over.
hold on.
Shoot them
actually.
all to break their fingers.
I have a question for you. What's the lowest crime that someone should be shot for? What's the most
one.
the least serious crime that you think someone should be still shot
Probably
for?
theft.
Theft? That's the low.
Like
that's the lowest
anything
you'd go?
with children, pedophiles, shoot them on the spot.
Yeah, but that's like way up here. I'm
Yeah,
talking
That's
like,
way up there.
I would say, maybe theft's a little hard. I mean, if it's petty theft.
What if someone spray painted your house
Depending on the color.
of the person?
Listen, Mr. Newsman.
I say not putting your carts away at the grocery store.
That's a firing squad
I
offense?
think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Or at least, yeah. I think so.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. That one makes me.
I watched a guy today on Instagram get shot for kicking another guy's car. He just kicked it and the guy just shot him twice. I'm like, maybe that was a little overkill.
I've done that before, so I'm
Shot
glad.
somebody.
You shot somebody?
No, I kicked the shit out of some guy's car, and I'm glad I didn't get shot for it.
Yeah.
I remember that. You told me that story.
Yeah. We won't
This one
talk on
went
here.
dark. I kind of threw the shopping carts out there to kind of lighten this, and then everyone's getting Dave, you want to jump in here anytime soon
Maybe I
on
don't
something
think all
light?
thieves should be shot, but I really think that all thieves should have their fingers broken. If that's all your hands are good for stealing, then what
I'm on
purpose
board
is-
with that.
I hate thieves. I work hard for my shit. I work.
You have a lot in
really
common
hard.
with like a traditional Arab Muslim, I think. Where it's like you chop off his fingers if he steals
No,
from you.
but
and
if that's
stuff.
their whole purpose, and we're in this stupid society now where people can just go in and rob stores, and stores are shutting down because they're getting robbed all the time, and you're not this petty theft isn't getting charged under $500. You don't get even criminally charged. It's bullshit. If you allow that shit to continue, this is the society we're in. No, you start beating the shit out of these people, breaking their fingers, and they will learn a lesson. When I did something wrong, my dad beat the shit out of me. Gave me a licking. I got whatever else happened to me. I stopped doing that bullshit.
Yeah.
What was the least thing that you ever got looking for?
Fuck my brother one time.
Thank you
My
for turning
older
the-
brother one time. So we had. Oh, I can't say this because fucking PETA and animal abuse.
Oh yeah, don't go there then. Let's ask a different question.
We were in the barn anyways, and
Okay.
there happened to be a little holes, and my older brother mouthed off to my dad.
Little holes?
No, little holes. We had like gas lines, they like piping. And my older brother mouthed off to my dad. I didn't say shit because I knew better than to mouth off to dad in the barn. But my older brother, him and my dad
Who's dad?
clashed.
Tyler's dad? My
Yeah.
dad? Your dad?
I said my. Okay.
Well, I didn't hear mine.
Both off to dad.
Sorry,
You
he
can roll
mouthed
that
off to
back.
dad.
You can roll that back. 22-27. There was no my dad. It was just dad. Country style dad.
So,
That's
anyways,
it.
my older brother Kyle, him and dad always clashed. They still clash to this day.
And you're right.
Yep.
And he had said something to dad, and was his dad, not my dad. And I was standing there, I was about this tall and this fast. I wasn't moving too fast in this shit anyway. So we had biotech, so it's just full of shit. It's not a barn. So, and he said something to dad, I forget what it was. And dad whipped around to smack him with this hose. But my fat ass happened to be in the way. And I took this gas line across the leg, and it dropped me. Like, it just dropped me like a sack of shit. I'm just lying in the shit, and dad's like, you get up, you're getting another one. I hobble my fat ass up. I don't even know why I got hit. And I'm like, well, I don't even know what I did. So anyways, we finished sorting the pigs, and I want to kill him, but I'm all of 3 feet tall. So I waddle back to the house to my mom, like she's going to help me. Oh, dad hit me with the hose, So I got like a half-ass apology later, like, oh, that was actually meant for your brother. I'm like, well, that's an apology.
That's a
That's
big,
a Mennonite
that was
apology
probably
right
a very
there.
big deal. If I,
I had like a
guess.
bruise across my leg for 3 weeks. I could hardly walk. So that was the worst I got for something I didn't do.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
Whatever. I guess I should have moved faster.
Yeah, you should get the
Hence
fuck out
why
of
I
the
got
way.
into boxing and learned some reflexes to get out of the way. I don't know. But I don't even have depth perception. That's not even fair. He knew that. I was a fucking kid.
So you had a big old hose bruise on
Right
your thigh?
across here, yeah. Yeah, I have never had a hose bruise lower than this.
Hose bruise. Is that what you call
A tan line, whatever you call it.
The tan line from your cock is called
But
a
you guys
hose
are a
bruise?
special group. Like, from knowing people from Grunthal in the area that unrelated to you, when I mentioned it for reference point to your family, you guys are a special
I guess
crew,
you're
though.
meeting people out there through.
Yeah, and even prior to that, prior to me working there, I was like, oh yeah, this kid Devin is working at my gym now. And they're like, Penner? And they just knew right away. You know what I mean? And they were like, yeah. So you're a little bit of a special family,
Yeah.
which I think is good.
Yeah, that's
McDole's got a good thigh bruise story.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no.
Could have been the end of his life.
End of my life for sure.
What was his name?
Yeah, I just took the same. I'm not even giving you. Yeah, same thing. We just had we're training a bunch of kids, and the kid clipped on this carabiner the wrong way on one of those like. I could get into this story about like why I hate speed agility, band training, and everything else. So we finally kind of like went into it. And we're like, wow, we'll gas these kids with like some resisted sprints. And I think I stepped away and came back, and the kid hooked himself onto like the hanging D ring instead of like the actual like support rings, and he took off, and I was like, and it snapped and came back and hit me here, like literally on the inside, like of that adductor, and like inches from going to the hospital for sure would have just like eliminated everything.
Exploded your testicles.
Yeah, absolutely would have for sure. And I had like the carabiner outline, and then the whole thing turned like it was brutal. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, you got to be like I said. I get you with the hose.
Well, I have a buddy who got one. A deer kicked him right beside his nuts.
Did you lose it?
No, just size nuts. They chased the deer in the field, tackled it got into sheep fencing, and just took it. And then they raised it for a bit and let it go. They thought it was hilarious. But that deer kicked and got him right beside the nuts. And
Just
it was,
barely missed him.
Man, it would have been it. That would have been it.
Does anybody know anybody who's lost a ball? Not like I know somebody who's lost one in a sad way, but has anybody lost one in like a funny way like that? Like their deer kicking the balls.
I did have a kid when I was younger. He slid down. He slid down. That we had this. It was in where we grew up there, and
steel
had
slides?
super high treehouse, and had this sketchy ladder, just the 80s, right? Like, yeah, go on up, And it had to be 60, 70 feet up in the air of these three trees that are right on the corner of a big intersection.
You're talking 6, 7 stories?
Yeah, huge. It was super. It was like a no one. And we have
Just
this
by Dad's house.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, this rope ladder. And so, yeah, a buddy of ours was like this kid's going down, and it was super sketchy, and he just didn't have time for it. So he went out the side and he slid down the tree like fire pole with it and caught something. And then he ended up sticking his hand down his pants, some blood, and that's all we remember. And then he left.
Oh, my
and
stomach just turned.
That's gruesome, yeah.
And he lost, and he did lose a testicle.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got a funny one with Newman from my gym. You remember Newman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was I mean, maybe he still is, I don't know, but he used to skateboard like a ton. He was really good. And one time in some way or another, he did something where his skateboard was standing straight up, and he split himself over the skateboard, and it like I don't want to say it was anything as drastic as like it didn't like fucking like cut open his ball sack or anything, but it was really, really bad. Bad to the point that he had a prescription Viagra because that was the only way that he could get a hard on. And he was like 19 and he had a prescription for Viagra.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you still have the prescription?
That's too bad.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe
Ask
hold
him
on
for
to
a
it.
friend. Ask him for a friend.
Yeah. That's good.
Do you have another question?
No, I got no. I didn't check the gram, but here I'll check. You got a couple? Good. Send them over.
How many likes for Devin to shave his beard?
Ooh. How many likes for Devin to shave his beard?
Holy smokes!
Maybe that's something we could do is to like if we hit a certain number of followers or a certain number of listens or
It's
something.
been a
on
year
an
and a half
episode.
for this thing.
Or if Tyler
nonstop.
makes CSM and you refuse to
if
go to
you
these,
win CSM,
if Tyler wins CSM and you refuse to go to the ladies of the night trying to make a living because this is what they've landed on in society.
Sex work positive.
Exactly.
Over there,
We're trying to pay
Can
for
you pass
support.
one of your beers there actually?
Yeah. And if that's it,
whoever stacked this bullshit.
or you have to shave that beard.
Which one is
don't
good?
go.
Which one would it be?
Oh man, that'd be up to the wife, I guess.
You want me to call her?
Yeah. Can we call a friend? Yeah. Can we get a lifeline?
So then is the answer
I don't understand how you guys go.
infinite or what?
The strip club thing just makes. I just would.
No, not
Is
the
it
strip
not
club thing.
awkward
No,
just staring at
Relax on
somebody?
the strip club. We were just.
Yeah. Is it not awkward? guys?
The beard thing.
I don't know how many likes. I don't know if there's enough. You know what? Hey, you know what? You give us 1,000 monthly listeners to our podcast and we get sponsored. I'll shave my beard.
That's a hectic list from a bunch of clicks that people have to do anonymously like this. You just ask for sponsorship.
Depends how
And
desperate.
1,000
You gotta make
subscribers.
us some money on this thing.
Yeah, I got to make some money. I don't know about you, but I'm poor. I can't afford to drink Prime Energy shit. And
It's not Prime. It's Monster. I would never.
What is the biggest regret during your strength journey?
What's the biggest regret during our strength journey?
Buying into a gym.
Buying into a gym.
I love my gym.
It was a lot easier when I
Yeah.
just worked for you.
Yeah, it
What's
was.
it? Somebody just hit me up asking for tips. Not from here, but from elsewhere. about opening a gym, and I was like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like there's the place they live has so many options. I was like, don't do it. You don't have to do it. But
Biggest regret for strength training?
Why don't you start at the head of the table there?
Going against my own rules when I went to Worlds kind of stands out for me.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
I opened with a squat that I knew I could hit, and kind of just there's 2 platforms, there's hundreds of people watching everything, and I jumped the rack
This chair
command,
is rough.
and I went up on my second attempt because I was just like, I can hit this. And I should have just got a number on the board, but I was like paying attention to what other guys are
No,
getting.
just different training.
I was paying attention to what like other guys are hitting and this and that, and it's just a sport about what I can do. And had I paid attention to that, I wouldn't have made that jump. And
what about like a longer term thing, like choices that you made in your training or things that you did through like that's sort of like an acute thing. But like, what about like like over the course of your training? Is there things you would have done differently or changed?
I'm
good now.
This doesn't have much to do with iron sports, but I should have focused on speed more than strength with football.
Okay.
I was such a meathead. Loved being in the gym, still love being in the gym, but I should have been on the track more than I was in the weight room.
Right.
And honestly, even though I had a lot of fun with doing what I was doing, paid more attention to my nutrition. Mm-hmm. Just mucking dirty calories and
you were
whatnot.
really, really fat for a while.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the heaviest you weighed?
264 was the biggest I got.
Yeah, that was big.
I was trying to get to 300, and then there's literally a picture. I'm on one half of a love seat.
I remember that picture.
And my 3 siblings, literally all 3 of them are on the other
Because
half.
when I first met you,
Yeah.
you would literally just fold your hands on top of your belly,
Oh,
like
this
you were
was the
doing,
best.
like you were doing maternity photos. And I was
You're
like,
in a flight. You take a flight and you rest your spitter on the
Yeah.
top of your gut between your pecs. You don't even have to move. You're just like,
that's when I met you.
It was one
I
of
was
those things where
impressed.
you had started dropping weight, and I didn't realize how big you were until I saw that photo, and I was like, "Fuck, you were really fat back then." Like I just didn't really realize
and
it.
to be totally honest, like the other half of body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm like a pretty muscular guy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've got like pretty decent numbers then. Mm-hmm. And I saw that picture and I'm like, I don't look good at all.
And you're doing. I couldn't even lose 30
I
pounds.
thought
I'd
you
be
looked
ripped.
great.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is I was talking to Ferris,
Yeah.
and he's like, or at least this is already maybe a year ago now, but he was like had a 6-pack and was like ripped, and he's like, oh yeah, I cycle everywhere now and blah blah blah. And I was like, damn, I didn't know you had that in you, because even that towards the end of the time of the gym, he was trying to lose weight and he was still always kind of fluffy, whatever. And he was like, yeah, well, he's like, I trained at a gym for like 7 years where like the fatter that I showed up, the more guys were like, fuck yeah, man, like you look great, like keep doing that.
I think part of it for me too is I've always kind of had the small dog syndrome.
Right.
Where you were 300.
Well, close, but yeah.
You're right
Yeah.
around there.
Right.
When you started putting on weight, and
Dom was-
both you guys are half a foot taller than me. Dom, John Wade. So not only was everyone heavier, everyone was 3 to 6 inches taller than me. So I never felt like a big guy. And then you go in public, and you're walking around like you're a normal dude, but you're 5'10", 260, like you're massive.
Yeah.
But I never saw myself that way because I was always trying to keep pace with you guys.
That was one of my favorite things when we opened, sort of to the public in like 13 or whatever, and someone put on a Facebook thing like, I don't understand the appeal of that gym. It's just full of fat, strong guys. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Like,
Actually,
well, if you don't understand it, you never will. Then.
yeah,
That's
I was like, yeah,
because that is the appeal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What about you?
I guess more on a technical standpoint, I think I would have spent less time doing advanced training stuff early on,
Just stuck more to the basics.
and stuck more to like the basics of things. And some of that is like, I think with everybody is I really enjoy training, so I got like a little bit of training ADD for sure. But I remember going back to a coach kind of like after about second or third year of competing in strongman, mainly to get John stronger, and we just wanted to go there and just dedicate. And it was just dedicating time to a front squat, dedicating time to some cleans and things like that. And it was like you're weak, and you just like you put that in context, right? You're just like, well, I'm not fucking weak, and like I get it, but like but in terms of like where he should have been, and that can only happen when you do sort of that like long-term year 1, year 2, year 3 training where you're like building that base. Whereas like for me, it was like, well, building a base is like we spend 6 weeks here or 4 weeks here, and then we're moving on right away. And then it was kind of
really
always
like long term like that.
really long term of things where like, again, instead of spending time with like different types of waves and clusters and all types of accessory stuff that takes place that I see. And I think it's hard because that was going to be my crack at you for your programming there, Devin. I think it's hard though to like make a selling pitch, because how do you go and say to somebody, here's what you're going to stick with for the next 4 years?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll just walk out, you know?
They would need to be like an Olympic lifter who's like working towards the Olympics.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have to be like, this is how we're going to program this. And they'd be like, okay, that makes sense. I understand that.
It's funny you say that. I had a client a couple weeks ago asked me, like, can we be done with, and I think it was front squats, can we be done with this movement? We do it for a while, but it was a couple different variations and stuff. I was working towards a certain event goal. And I'm like, no, we're not done with them. Like, this is the purpose behind them. And after a bit, they messaged me back like, I understand now. I just didn't look at it that way, but I was just tired of doing them every week. But and then literally the next day they hit a PR in that movement for the first time in a long time. Like, just stick to the plan.
Yeah.
But it was boring. We're doing the same movements.
It is boring.
Yeah.
It is boring.
You know
like,
it's funny. I was going to say though to what you said there, where like you're like, oh, you're weak, and it's like you're not weak, but it's in the context of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Beeks might have said to me when I maybe bench press or something. I hit like 365, whatever, and then I was like, something to the effect of like you get strong enough to a point where you're like weak all over again, because now you're in this like next level where it's like, oh, 365. Well, who gives a fuck? This guy has 485. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you hit this like high when you hit like a 2-plate bench, and then you never get that high again. Like you're chasing that for the rest of your fucking life. You hit 315. You're like, well, what about 365? You hit 365. Like, what about 405? And then it's just like you never reach that point of being like happy again with your lifts.
Yeah.
I have a high school kid that I'm training. He's in grade 10. And we're about to hit 185 for bench for him. And he's like, 2 plates is next. And I'm like, you already get what the rest of your life is going to look
exactly.
like.
Yeah.
I'm like, and you're going to go from 185 to 225 pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a.
And then you're going to hit 315.
Yeah.
And then it will literally take 10 years to get to 405
Yeah.
and chase it. Like,
And then you'll talk about 500 and never hit it.
It's such an arduous process to get to some of these markers, and you beat your head against the wall, you try different programs, and it kind of just comes down to finding the right program and working hard. And too many people want
And not the perfect program.
Not the perfect. No.
Just a program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The perfect program for you is the one you're actually going to do.
Yeah.
Simple as that. There's no perfect program.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people chase like entertainment over improvement. Like,
Instagram
I was bored of
likes.
this movement. Well, too bad. If this is the one you want to get better at,
Yeah.
you got to stick with the things that make this better. You can't like I was bored of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to probably the 5 of us in this room.
Yeah.
But you know, we have a mutual friend that wants like weekly periodization.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't train like that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, this is not
Yeah.
something to train.
But it's interesting though, because I used to, again, the very, very first the guy that I worked underneath was the phenomenon of it just coming out because magazines were out, of like being almost stage ready all the time, and how hard that was, instead of these like big peaks and valleys of like bulking season, and that went for women as well, and then getting super ripped on stage. So bodybuilding in nature was his specialty, but there was this new phenomenon of like, I'm ready for magazines all the time, and he explained to me how hard that was to train, because that's what they're paid for. They're paid to be within 3-day notice to be like on stage or like in the magazine for these types of things. And I think now, which will be interesting to see in 5 or 6 years from now, because whether it be Instagram or paid or whatever, it's going to be interesting to watch this new generation of lifters, because they have to PR every month.
week.
Every time they post something, because they never post their like, this is the cycle of stuff, because it's boring, right? They don't want it, no one wants to hear that type of stuff. It's a 12-minute video talking about whatever, right? So, and I'm not taking that away, but that's their income.
Yeah.
And so they have to be on.
Larry Wheel's gimmick is literally
Right,
Team
exactly.
PR.
Exactly. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the long-term results will be, because there are some absurd numbers that are out there that are just, like I said, I'm not saying they're nobodies, but they're nobodies in like this in the strength and conditioning world. I don't even know if that means anything, but you know what I mean? Like they're not a known individual, and then all of a sudden they're benching, you know, these absurd, just at a local gym somewhere, right? Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see what'll take place with that.
Devin, what's something that you?
I got two big regrets. My biggest regret goes back to not paying McDole enough to get that second workout per week on myself.
No.
I really feel that would have just put me over the top.
Yeah. Just kidding. You broke my rules. There's your red flag. You asked earlier about clients with red flags. I didn't want to say to my left here is the biggest red flag.
That's because of blood
Way
pressure.
to invest. Way to invest.
Blood pressure.
Don't invest your training and expertise into a genetic mishap over here.
I would say my biggest regret. I had to throw it in there.
Just the nicest guys.
Yeah,
Say.
my biggest regret would have been I had two of them. One was being, I always look at these guys now, and you can talk to 105 guys, Clash guys, and I look at some of the guys that went and turned pro. And there were guys that were beating back in the day competitions, and the difference was they just had more mental strength than I did. I was always dedicated to lifting, but I would get these highs and lows with my, I mean, I have depression, so I get highs and lows, but my lows were getting so low that I would just quit, or quit competing, or just like getting these lows and just not focus on the movements. I would start doing the almost like advanced, just let's throw different movements. Let's try chasing PRs in terms of I need a high, right? I need a little bit of a high when you're in a low, right? So I'd chase these stupid lifts, like the bench when I got injured, and these things because I was just trying to supplement from that high of competing. You get this high when you win a competition, and I'm trying to supplement that because after competition I get such a low, and I wouldn't come out of there for months, and I just end up hiding in my place. And I think that was what I did. I regret doing that.
The hurt locker.
Hiding in Waco.
Crying
But no, that was a
naked.
big one there. And then not dialing it back when I'd get little tweaks that turned into major injuries.
Yeah.
Like I never had a massive tear besides my shoulders, but like this back injury I've been doing for 3-4 years is literally just soft tissue. I've done the MRIs and the CTs and I've done everything, but it's the point now where most days I have trouble walking, and there's nothing structurally wrong besides just some soft tissue and some imbalances that I'm working on. But I wish I would have dialed it back 4 years ago and just dealt with the little tweak at the time. Said, no, let's just push it. Let's push the envelope. Now we're fine. And we'll just, and I've never been a guy with painkillers. I'll take Advils on the best of days. I don't like painkillers.
missing out.
Yeah, no.
They are
As
awesome.
much as I'm anti-drug, I won't resort to medication. But that would be my biggest regret is not dialing it back, because I would have taken, I would have taken 6 or 8 weeks when I did a little tweak, and I would have been 100%.
Yeah.
And now I've spent over $20,000 in the last 4 years on physio, massage, and different therapies, and I'm still struggling. Like that's my biggest regret. The guys that list this podcast, they're like, I got a little tweak, and you'll know whether you're just being a little bitch and you're actually injured or not. I really wish I would have dialed it back and then just refocused, and then done that. Then I think I would still be competing. Yeah, because I love competing. I love the competition day. That's my biggest regret.
Tyler?
First of all, we're going to get you some Percocet, and you're going to try them. And you're going to find out why people like them so much.
Yeah.
Like if my family needs any more addiction problems.
It's a very like chill addiction though. It's like kind of quiet. Nobody knows you have it. Like
Until you
just
start crushing them up in tinfoil and smoking them on the side.
You can do that.
I don't know. Probably a similar thing to kind of what Beek says, which was I wish that or what we touched on earlier, which was I wish that I would have let things ride longer. Like I would start a program. I would start like, oh, here's like this like juggernaut training thing, and I would try that, and I'd be like 6 weeks into that, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of whatever. Like I'll try something different. Where if I just been more consistent about things, I think I would have seen better improvement. I don't know if I necessarily call it a regret because it's like
Regret's a hard word.
That's a part of my life, whatever. But like I partied a lot when I was younger, like especially when I was coming in with you guys there. Like I was in like right in the mix of it a lot, where I was not eating for a weekend and not sleeping for a weekend and just drinking and doing what I was doing.
What Tyler is going to show up on Saturday?
That's the thing is like like I said, I can't necessarily say I regret that, but I like looking back on it now, I do think that's a lot of pounds that I left on the table in terms of things that I could have been lifting and things that I could have been doing.
When you say that what Tyler would show up, when I met you and we started doing all, like the promoting stuff together, a bunch of the guys would say, with Tyler, like, you know he's not reliable, right? I'm like, well, that's not the Tyler I know. I didn't know the Tyler back then. I know the Tyler the last 2-3 years from what you've at least shown me.
That Tyler was fucking cool, man. He
Yeah.
was always had something fun in his pocket, and he was ready to fucking party. But and then the wrestling thing too was challenging. Again, not a regret, but it's like I tried to spread myself between two things that couldn't really be split that way. You know what I mean? Like where
They don't really complement each other.
no, not really. And like the time that I took off from strongman, I went and did wrestling, and I went overseas, and China and Germany and all that shit. So I don't have any regrets, obviously, about doing that. But it does again make me think that like if I would have focused on one thing a little more, and thought about it too in the way that you said too, where it's like when I was like, all right, I want to gain weight. That means I have to be 300 pounds by this time next month. You know what I mean? Where it's like, no, it's like, and the way that I've done it now is so much more effective, where it's a little bit at a time. But everything had to be like, boom, there, and especially because I was training with Dom. For sure. Where he was 360 at his biggest, I think, or 350 or something like that. He was huge, and he's hitting all these crazy numbers, and I'm like, well, I got to get there like now. Like I got to be there yesterday. So that I rushed things a lot more than that could have been like if I would have stopped and thought about it. Where I'm like, well, I'm 25, like I have a minimum of 10 years left in the sport. You know what I mean? Like I could really take my time and do this, but it doesn't seem that way when you're, and the idea of trying things for an extended period of time, like find like this notion of like, hey, like find out what works for you, like try different things. I was like, no, that's fucking bullshit, because then I waste a year if something doesn't work on me, and then I'll never get that year back. And it's like, but that's just I had so much time and I didn't realize it. And I think that's what people could, maybe that's something that I would say for the regret thing, is that like I wish I'd realized how much time I had and how much I like could have tried things and given things more time. Like you said, like the fundamental stuff that you said, like where you tried too much crazy shit, and like we had so much crazy shit at McDole's, where I wanted to try one of everything that we had there, where it's like really all I needed to do was just deadlift and hit the log. You know what I mean? Like that was like the most that I had to do. Yeah. But yeah, I would say that just giving things more time and like not feeling like I had to fucking do everything right then, right now. You know what I mean? But then again, that was part of the fun too. It is. So I don't know. To say that's regret even maybe isn't right.
Half the stories in this podcast are from stupidity like that.
Yeah. Chris was right. Regret's a strong word. Like I don't look back and beat myself up over anything.
Right.
But there's some stuff where you're like, I probably could have done this differently.
Right.
Yeah.
There was times where I spun my wheels in terms of training and stuff where I didn't have to and things like that. But it's like, you know, who knows what else I had going on at that moment where training wasn't the number one priority in that during that month, during that 2-month period, whatever the fuck it might be. Yeah.
Well, there's a question for that. Probably wasn't asked. It wasn't asked, but I got a question for you. At what point in your life did you realize that, okay, the athlete and the training in you, in terms of goals and your goals in life on financial stability, career, the career and stuff finally surpassed the goals of, okay, I'm not going to make it as a pro athlete, and I need to focus on being able to retire.
Yeah, it's like a.
Well, let's actually clarify that a little bit too, and say not necessarily pro athlete. Like strongman is not like a pro sport, but like you give your whole self to it. Well, powerlifting or whatever,
because you know what it takes to get to the top level.
Right. So our thing was interesting with Dave. Like this is how I view it, at least, is that I originally set out like to have the gym because I really enjoyed training like athletes. So mainly football, hockey. We had a bunch of like downhill, like skater, anything. All these variety of
swimmers
athletes.
And everything there.
Yeah, we had lots of people like that with a little bit dabbled in here and there of like the average Joe type person, right? Who we really did focus on. Like we kicked like, we want to call them pros. Like we kind of catered to our NHL guys that were there, but we really kicked like CFL guys out. Like if we had like a boot camp coming in, they were like, they knew like 359. They were like, can I do an arm curl? And we were like, get the fuck out. Like we knew what really kept us open. Right.
Yeah.
I think before you go on, the Stampeders referred this former NFL player to us. This guy had 5 years in the NFL, and they were like, you know, he's staying in Winnipeg right now, and we told him that you guys are the guys to train with. I think most places would be overjoyed to have him. We literally rolled our eyes, and then he met with Chris, and Chris was like, you can come at 6, and if you don't show, like if you're a minute past 6, you can't train that day. Like just gave like an ultimate. He ended up being awesome and a pretty good friend of ours, but it was just like, it's a poor business model to cater to those guys.
Right, exactly. That's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
So how, I guess, which would be how you guys would have, like, because I'm not saying this to pat myself on the shoulder, but how you guys would have got, maybe eventually would have like found it through Brent or something along those lines. But I was talking to a bunch of older guys that were that were training in the city at the time, and I would train with them. And I needed a niche breaking away from this other gym that no one else had done. And what that was doing applied strongman training. So lighter implements to just be like, I can't correct these imbalances with all of them in the gym. So I'm just going to give them a tire to flip, a log to clean, farmer's walk, drag the sled, do the yoke. Just going to beat the shit out of them that way. And then they would go back to the gym, and all of a sudden it's just like, without even doing anything with their squats all got better. Their deadlift got better. They got pressing better. And I was like, there you go. Now you're a machine, right? Yeah. So that was kind of our niche that we stuck with. So we never attached it initially to, it was always something that we did at like in the afternoon, or we trained on Saturdays, and we were strictly dedicated. This was always like an auxiliary to what we had. And then it started to become a little more popular in the mainstream. And then we started to compete. And I don't say we lost sight, but we started to overlap those, where when we moved to the big spot, to the big gym, we were trying to say, like, I shifted the focus to being like, well, it's my training. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I got away from like, how do I monetize this situation that I really, really cared about? And that became a problem. So it became hard to monetize something that you like loved, because I wanted everybody to love it and take it as serious as what I did. Mm-hmm. And they just did it. Same thing with you with powerlifting. And so then we had to like revamp this model, which was super tough. And it's a tireless thing. And it wasn't like we like packed it in. It just was, we just cared too much about it. And then it was impacting our training, which made us like miserable, and they were like brutal to get around. But I have zero regrets. You know what I mean? And it just became that I think the fitness industry is difficult for sure, because it's such a fickle customer. There's so many people out there doing it. And I think if I was to lend anything to you here, I would say just stay the course. Where we were like, if I could just get this, if I just do this, if I can just do this, if I can just do this, and grow and grow and grow. I think back and I'm like, would you just stayed maybe in our lane a little bit more, we would have lasted longer. But like I said, I have zero regrets with it, because it has spawned like awesome things. Like I've met so many good people in my life, and you know, well, except for Devin, but and again, I'm super happy. And had I known that, and I think you only get this with age, not to take up so much of the airtime here, but had I gone back and said, I will do work so that Tyler will end up being more successful, I think that's more important to me. And it's not that I take credit for anything that you do, I don't. But if you're not laying a foundation for something for others to succeed in the future, it's going to be a pretty short career. Sure. Because once you're done, you're kind of like, I'm fucking out of here. And you're not passing anything down. Right. Yeah. And you should be laying a foundation. And had I maybe gone back in time, sort of Michael J. Fox style, and said like, this is what you're in this for, I think I would have approached it differently, to be like, we're laying a foundation for something that they care about, so that others can be successful. Right. And yeah, like, I guess that's kind of where I'm at, where I knew I was like, I'm happy, I'm okay with stuff, you know?
I mean, that's kind of where you'd find yourself now, I would say.
I talked to you in private a while when I said, I think I'm at the point, I'm not willing to do what it takes to be good. I'm okay for an amateur guy in Manitoba, but I kind of don't want to be poor, and I want to build some businesses and build some my portfolio more rental buildings and some apartment buildings. I'm into that now. And it's just like, I'm not willing to do what I know what it takes to compete at the 105, like Westerns, like Pat's got into that one and stuff. And I know I've beat Pat, and I've done these, and I know I could be competitive, but I'm not willing to do it, I think, anymore.
I mean, like in the positive sense though, is that like you're not being like, well, I'm done, and just walking away.
No, like
it's like you're growing something that's maybe like you're actually doing more now outside of the sport than you would have done if you were still an active competitor.
Well, we just registered a business, get me and Tyler. Like, I'm going to take this promoting thing, and I really want to help the sport of strongman grow. I have the equipment. I'm going to keep investing money because I like it. So I think I'm better on that side. I just know there's still, like, every time I go to a comp or I see something, it's like, oh no, I can still do this. And I get in the gym, I try doing something. I went to Gorge yesterday and did a couple Zercher squats. I couldn't walk today. And I'm like, okay, this is like this. I just don't have it. I don't have it. Like, I don't have it.
Yeah. And I think I got good advice. This is from like a famous guy. I don't mean to name drop, but I did get a good advice from Wendler one day. And it was just like,
he's only famous to people like us. So
right.
It's not
no, but I don't want to go and like drop something like this, whatever. Yeah, he is. It's true. It is true. But I consider him like,
I think he's famous.
Guy.
I think he's famous. Yeah.
So, and he had said, more or less, like I said, I'm paraphrasing here, but when you set up a goal for what you want, like, so if you're like, hey, I want 1,000-pound squat, like, and then once you get to that level, are you willing to do the rest, like you're willing to whatever you need to sacrifice to break that. So like I said with that competition before, where I was like, these weights are pretty much on point. I'm first by a long shot in this competition. This same performance landed me 12th of 14 guys.
Yeah, so
Am I willing to do, and can I close that gap between 12 and 1? And if you're not willing to do that, then you just should.
That's why I don't,
and that's when I made where I was like I did fall short of a handful of things for sure that I can look back on that were personal decisions that I was like, this is dumb that I did it. But like I said, I had kind of been like, I'm content with stuff. I'm content with the way things like are, and that's I'm not saying a quitter's attitude at the end of the day, but I think those people that do get stuck, that they never followed through with things, or they're unhappy with other things in their lives. Yeah, they're miserable.
Well, we're all going to get older, and we're all going to stop. And if you're not content,
so
it's
hard.
a whole lot worse. Than,
I just look at some of the older guys you competed with who went that far, and not they have these titles and they have this reputation, but in terms of a lifestyle, family, they have nothing.
Yeah, you
and I'm like,
you can't have that.
No, and I got the wife and kids, and I got all this, and I realized I was training 7 days a week from 2008 till 2020. Whether it was a break from weightlifting, I went into boxing and then jiu-jitsu and everything else, but and then I went to 6 days a week, and then 5 days a week, and then the last 2 years have been 4 days a week, and now I'm struggling with 4 days a week, and I don't have the time, or I'm not dedicating the time, and that's why I know my heart's not there. I'm like, if I'm struggling to do 4 days a week in the gym of weight training for an hour and a half, I mean, I do the jiu-jitsu too, but I realize I just don't have it. I want my kids are getting older, right? The businesses, I want to grow stuff like this. I enjoy this stuff. I enjoy coming here now and bullshitting about the good old days. And it's, I'm only 35, I'm not 45, but what am I going to do?
But then the coach in me just of the situation.
You're all
so we're
pussies.
gonna cut you off. Yeah, I hear this, and I'm like, Tyler shouldn't be listening to this. Tyler should tell all three of us to fuck off and walk out the door.
Yeah, you should be eating those rice cakes.
Yeah,
and get the hell out of here.
because Tyler shouldn't be listening to us sit here and put himself in this category. He should be like, no, I'm at the peak.
Yeah.
Fuck you, fossils. I'm out of here. And that does come
Because
out
you
in
are
me.
at the best you've ever
It does come out in
Yeah.
me. Same thing. I was helping
Yeah.
this young kid deadlift out in Steinbach in this like coat, and I was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, I'm just yelling at this kid, and he's like, I just wanted to deadlift 315 or whatever it was, right? And I'm like, you gotta fucking dedicate your time. And you know what I mean? His wife's, he's like a young married guy now, and he's like, I think I gotta go to dinner soon. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? You know what I mean? Like, all for like zero. So
Because we would sacrifice everything. 3, 4, 5 hours on a Saturday.
Everything took a back seat.
Everything.
It's
hard to recalibrate
Every Saturday, didn't
yourself.
matter what it was.
It
was
is.
4 or 5 hours a Saturday dedicated.
It was super hard. I have to really take things down. It
Yeah.
was super hard. I think a lot of people that do care about it. Like when I kind of like melded back into society, I always joke around that like with my current career and everything that I smile at so many things, and I'm like, this is real world. Like this is like I'm like, as opposed to like the world that you live in right now, where people are coming to you. That's another big thing. You isolate yourself, go to your place, have a same set of rules. Everyone comes to you, they abide by the situation, and then you walk out the door, and then you're in Superstore. And if someone bumps into you, you're just like, you know what I mean?
That is true.
It is. And so now you tag 14 years onto that, where like I was so isolated from all these things, and then you go out in the real world, and you're like, I'm a misfit here. Like like it's funny.
So you buy acreage and build a bunker.
Yeah. Well, or you could do this, right? Or you could go full.
That is so true, though. You really have to, like, when you leave a facility, like, I mean, even like McDole's or Midtown, and you're like, oh yeah, the rest of the world's not really like this right now. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't just finish a fucking event day, and they're not.
Yeah.
They're not trying me. They're not testing me. They're just just hanging out at the grocery store. And they're
They just accidentally got in line. You're like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah, that's definitely something.
And I don't know. I know there's other gyms in the city that are quite successful, but I feel like that was something that, because you are in that same category, where we had some sort of leadership where that was the difference. You know what I mean? Yeah. That was the difference with that. And not everyone, people liked it. They were transient. There was a little bit of a revolving door sometimes. People hated me. They hated the gym. Then they came back and whatever and blah, blah, blah. There was a variety of reasons, relationships and things like that. But that, I think, is what is the difference with stuff when I hear like Iron Age versus whatever, is because there's a distinct leader of that gym as opposed to just nobody, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
He's talking about Swint.
Swin, yeah.
Yeah. Poor guy. He's good.
I'm still waiting here to listen to the boxing episode.
No.
That came up the other day.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that. Sorry,
No.
Chris. That's not what I meant, Chris.
Well, let's say we're talking about the strength sport aspect of things. Like that's clear enough, I think.
One thing I appreciate that we did. Were you done your point or?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
One thing that I always appreciated, and this kind of comes to Chris and I being dinosaurs, we built like an attitude and a community. It's just fat guys trying to get strong. Whatever people thought of it, we built that in house. And you guys coming there and our Strongman Saturdays and that, there wasn't McDole's gym hashtags. We didn't have a strong online presence.
No, there was none of that.
It just came down to hard work and bonding over like suffering and training ultimately. Nowadays you just see, gyms are built on like post your workout and tag us and this and that. And, but that community isn't really real. Those people could pass each other in the street and not know each other.
That's true too.
But you're looking at you guys training in Ammo and Wade and Will. And
I haven't seen Ammo in 10 years, and if I saw him today, I would stop and talk to him.
I'd be super happy to see
I bump
him.
into kids all the time.
Yeah.
And
Jordan Hanna stopped me the other day.
I saw him at the WRPS meet. I talked to him.
He's competing again.
Yeah, he chatted with me, and I haven't seen him since McDole days in 2012.
When he told me, I got so excited.
Yeah.
I saw him message right away. I was so pumped to see him.
He looked sick too. He was huge.
Yeah, he did good.
Will Hazarewicz
Yeah.
messaging me about training.
Yeah.
He still does
And
mess with all the time.
that's what we built, real connections.
Oh, we have kids like Chris Stevens will send me the funniest things on Instagram that is strictly related to like when he was 14 years old. And we had young guys and just the same thing, like stepping out of that box or whatever. We had fashion stuff that just became what we wore, and then we wore it out in public, and people were like,
Tattered
what are you wearing this for? We're like, this is what I wear. Like, 3/4 of the length all the way down, like cut
Chris and
off
I used
sweats.
to train in cut off flannel shirts.
Yeah.
Like sleeveless flannel shirts in like 08, 09.
Yeah.
I can still remember Dom's shorts, the sweatpants shorts he cut off. They had like the McDole's patch on the fucking
Yeah.
leg
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
competed in,
Yeah.
and he'd just wear them around
And
too.
then he'd wear them out. We'd go out, and then you're just like, I don't care. You know what I mean? And like our buddy Kyle was the same way. Like it's the same thing. It just all these things just kind of permeated, and then you show up and you see some kid that's working at Co-op, or he's a lawyer now, and he's like, hey, I used to wear these. You know what I mean? Like he's like, and it's just hilarious. So I think like I said, there's more to it at the end of the day. So
Well, I guess what we're trying to say is that every other gym sucks, and my gym is great.
Iron Age
Devin's
is
gym
best.
great too.
yeah.
But I feel like you're building that there too.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that we make a point. Like, I mean, anybody who so we have a couple guys who tried our gym, and they're like, "Oh, we want to come here for our heavy days. It's just a little too far for us to drive every day." And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. They're young kids." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." But I firmly believe, because we've seen it no less than 3 times in the past, that they're going to start coming, and they're going to like it, and they're going to keep coming, and and it's going to become their regular gym. Because I fucking hate how much we talk about Dan on this podcast, but Dan, let's talk about Dan.
Oh.
But he lives in Sandy Hook. He would come once a week to do the event stuff, and now he comes 4 times a week.
The thing is, if I lived in Sandy Hook, I'd be looking for reasons to leave too.
And like we have Chris Weeb too, who takes the bus from East Kildonan to my gym 4 times a week. Started off doing it once a week, and now he does it 4 times a week because it's you can't match it what we have anywhere else. So.
And I would encourage you to keep that type of client.
Yeah.
Because you can't replicate that. And that's what we originally tried to do, was we tried to be like, well, if we can get kids that are going to get guys that are going to show up and drive forever to come see us, it'll be super easy for us to just pluck off average Joe on the side, and they are totally different.
Yeah.
Your place is awesome also because it kind of started off how ours was, and I mean this with the most thing. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's great. And that's the same as ours. And that was the same as ours originally
my
was.
My dad built like almost everything in that gym.
Yeah.
He built the bathroom. Like,
Who's dad?
And I don't.
My father.
Yeah.
I clarify it. Don't worry.
And I don't mean it's
Paul.
bad at all. It's just like that. There's something about that when we had that.
I think we were
same thing.
happiest in the garage.
Yeah, and I got told this by a coach, like, if you want to get strong, you got to be treated like a mushroom. You got to live in dirt and shit. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
And I remember
I've never heard that, but it makes sense.
Opening up the new place and super clean, and I brought this coach in, and I was like, look at all this stuff, and he was like, you'll never get strong here, and he was right.
Right.
Yeah.
He never did, and I never got stronger.
And you were your happiest probably at the old place.
Never.
Yeah.
And I was always happier in the place where we were, and it's just, it's, so I would encourage you to just be like, yeah, you can move and expand and everything else, but there's just something about it.
Just keep the vibe.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
Pretty much called there for the day, I guess, then.
I don't even have a quip for Devin at the end there.
You nothing for me?
I know.
Come on, Dad.
Nothing. Sorry.
Thanks
Finish
to...
with the burrito story and the piping in the new gym.
Why I banned Burrito Del Rio
Yeah.
from the
We'll
gym.
wrap up with the Burrito Del Rio ban.
That's the one you want to end on.
Let's hear it.
Purposely. Well, I don't.
I
even
go
know.
there now weekly just to spite you. Not only because you gave me my diet, but also because of this story.
We could do a rant. We could do a whole podcast on crazy things, like when I tossed the microwave.
The
with you
microwave.
guys.
That's exactly what I was thinking about was the microwave.
Yeah, when I was like, that's it.
Well, that's because
having a bipolar moment.
Customers would come back there and use the microwave, and I was like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be back here." And they'd be, and there's one woman that I'm thinking of specifically, and she was like, "It's fine," and I was like, "Okay." And then you came in and fucking heaved the thing out.
Yeah, threw a computer away. One of my favorite ones though was with the sink upstairs.
Oh, I thought you were going to
At
say
the old
dropping the
gym.
kettlebell on the printer.
Oh, that was also good too. That was also good. Yeah,
Off the
From
mezzanine. Like not standing over it, like 12 feet up from the mezzanine onto the printer.
Yeah.
Bullseye.
Yeah, and then they wouldn't clean the sink. I put in the sink and everything upstairs for like lunchroom and everything
Yeah.
else. They wouldn't clean it, and I finally got sick of it, and I just tore the plumbing out the top of it, and then I took a piece of plywood and just drilled it into the bottom of the top, and it was just like flat. People walked up the next day and were like, "What happened to the sink?" And Dave would just be like, "Don't say
I wouldn't talk
anything.
about that if I was you.
We just left it alone.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, the burrito story was, it was just kind of like early on. We just got all the piping and everything else fixed. We had a new line dragged to connect to the city, like the city pipe or whatever for our bathroom. The building had been dormant for a while, and it was that really mild winter that we had like about 10 years ago, like rememberably mild.
12
Anyways, yeah. 12 years
12
ago?
years,
Yeah, 12
jeez.
years. Anyway, so basically, Burrito Del Rio in like had opened the same time that we had, basically, and guys were going there all the time, like right down the
I love
street.
that place.
Yeah,
You were
And
first.
Oh,
you were
for
like,
sure.
guys, you got to try this place. And we're like,
So we
well,
started-
our fearless leader is. We better do it too.
So we started eating burritos. Like, we were crushing these football-sized burritos, like sometimes 2 times a day. There's multiple guys doing it. Anyways, we finally started getting busy, and I guess the guys are going to the, like, just owning a gym. Guys are just going and taking a dump, like, all the time. And we would just beg guys all the time, like, just take a shit before you come
Yeah.
to our place. No, I want to take a dump when I get to the gym, right? So they're just burying it. And then for some reason, because it got busy, all of it was backed up. And I guess because it wasn't as big, it had a chance to drain. It did not this day. And it just decided, it was like, that's it. And it was like just
Rubber mats were floating.
Yeah, like I was putting
Really?
a full, those huge shop vac full, sticking it in like on the ground, and it was filling within 30 seconds,
shit.
and then
Yep.
dumping it outside, and it was just like
Is this shit
burrito-
water or just water?
Shit water.
Oh my god.
And it was just burrito, and I could just smell. And I'm squeegeeing burrito stuff out the door. I was leaving for the Arnold the next day. Was furious.
Yeah.
I was like, no more burritos in this fucking gym. That was my like,
You
going
must
back
be
for
so fucking
soak
mad.
the turf,
Holy shit.
soak the rubber mats. It was just awful, wasn't it?
That was terrible.
Oh, it was just the worst.
Specifically the like. I don't know why it stands out. The
Yeah.
corn.
You're right.
Specifically the corn.
Just floating.
Well,
corn.
that happened in my gym
it?
twice a week ago. I'm still dealing with it. Actually, right now I don't have sewer at the like.
Was it
I
anyone's
had to get the tank pump.
sister-in-law?
No, it's just there's either my line's frozen to the town right now, but I have my septic isn't working at home. Yeah, it backed up into the gym, shop backing the whole 9 yards, and then the next morning did it again. And I'm like,
When did this happen?
a week and a half ago.
I took a shit in there yesterday.
Yeah, well, that is definitely yeah.
It's
still-
out on the ground now.
No, it's but I got the tank pumped. I'm just tomorrow.
it's good now,
Tomorrow, no, I got to hire somebody tomorrow to try to figure out what
Oh,
the hell's
shoot.
going on. I spent all weekend working on that thing. Done with that bullshit. So I got it. So I think the line might be frozen. Somehow the low pressure line's frozen, which shouldn't happen. But
I want to say just before we wrap up or whatever, one last thing with it, because I feel like we didn't mention it, or because you did bring up your sister-in-law or whatever. One thing I am proud of with that gym that I think has
I thought we were going as massive shits. But yeah,
it's not what I mean. It's not what I'm saying. I know that's where you're going with that. But one of the things I'm most proud of with that gym is that we had some of the toughest and strongest females that trained
Definitely.
at the place.
Oh, yeah.
To where you
No,
would
no
go
one's
up.
topping Janaea in that
No one's
category.
like Pam and Janaea and
Pam,
all
sorry, I
like other
should say,
people
yeah,
for
that's-
sure.
yeah.
And you'd walk over and you'd go to like someone that looked like you would be like, how many, like if you have a set left or whatever, and you could like lose your mind, but you just never ask those particular females that were there.
You would never
And
ask Janaea
guys-
shit.
like, new guys would walk in and be like, can I, and I'd be like,
When they're done, you'll know.
Yeah, exactly. And that was interesting that they were tougher and meaner than the rest of the dudes that were there. So there were guys that were like, I'm not going there because the guys are super mean. I'm like, it's the ladies that are mean here.
I know that she posts that she listens and watches, but Janaea scared the fucking shit out of me when I went there. I'm like a young, and she's my age, right? I think, right?
Yeah, Janaea's 32.
Yeah, so she's younger than me. Okay, so but I was there, and I remember seeing her, and I'd be like, "Well, I'll just wait till she's done lifting because it's not
31 even." She
Yeah.
32.
Yeah, she was
32.
fucking. She was the Terminator. Like,
Dude, we were at St. Pure time. Janaea was training. There was an older gentleman in the gym, and Janaea had dropped her weights. Something she did a lift and dropped her weights, and the guy went over to see if she's okay.
Oh,
and she looked, and she seen him come in the mirror, and she's like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" And this guy's like, "Whoo!" And he just turned, and he comes to me. I'm like, "Oh no, it's best you don't talk to her." Like, only I can really make a comment when she's training. She won't snap at me because I'm her brother-in-law. But yeah, the guy literally went because she was a kid, and she just looked at him. "What the fuck are you looking at?" And he's just like, "Oh man, I think that was the last time you ever talked to her."
That sounds all right.
no, for sure.
So
And
thanks.
Bosco was sorry.
no.
Bosco was similar. Like when you're 12 weeks out and that switch is on.
Yeah.
Just dialed in.
You see like a fierce competitor and what your training should look
Which
like.
is funny now because if you see her now, she was always really nice, but she's like the nicest lady.
I was at her
You know
place.
what I mean? Like, she's-
I was at her place this
I
week.
know.
Like she's
Yeah,
a sweetheart.
She's so sweet.
Yeah.
She came down and helped out with the Allison Lockhart seminar that we had, and it was
Yeah.
just like so nice to see her and just chat with her and stuff. And
She's on the board for Deadlifts for Dreams.
oh,
She's
that's
helping out
great.
this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Allison
Super
was
happy
actually-
to have
Yeah.
Pam on board.
I fucking
actually.
love, but we're pulling out these people from like the graveyard of strongman.
I know, like, the masters categories
and
and-
again, but like whether it's McDole or whether it's Jose or whether it's Pam and for powerlifting or whatever it might be, like I think it's really cool that we got to get that fucking asshole Dom involved, and then we'll have something. But
It'd be great.
just like to respect the history of the sport that's already happened here and stuff too, where it's like guys should know, like everybody who's in strongman right now should know that who Dom was, because he's a guy who did a lot of shit in Manitoba before guys were doing shit in Manitoba.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to hear that people are getting back involved again.
I still remember when Dom started, and I helped him. We were doing semi-pulls here, Jim.
Yeah, I've got those
And
pictures.
yeah, I know. And I was at that point because he just started. I was better than him for that little period
For that session.
for that little. And I remember teaching him the semi-pull with Chris, and I realized right down there, I'm like, I'll never beat this guy at a comp. Like I should have competed his first month because I'm never beating him. Like as soon as I was showing him his technique, and then he would just fly with it. I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I remember John got hurt, and then Luke needed a guy for Fort Francis strongman, and I was like, I got this kid in my gym. I'm like, I can't really. He's super strong. Like he's not going to embarrass anybody, but like but he's not going to win anything either. So, but I can vouch for him that he'll do well. And he's like, yeah, okay, bring him. And then he just crushed it. Like
Really?
I think he ended up like 5th or 6th with like behind like some guys, and I just was like, that's
That picture's super funny.
super hilarious. I
The
should bring
lifter
it up.
picture after the meet is so funny.
All these guys are like Scott Cummin and Provic and all these big name guys. Valancourt's there, I think, and Scarab and all these guys that have been the Canadians. Everyone's wearing their blue shirt for the athlete thing, and Dom is wearing tights that are to here, no shirt, standing there super like smiling. Yeah. And that was just his personality the entire time. He's the only one just wearing nothing, and he's like just
awesome.
looking there. That's hilarious.
Good picks. We'll have to find the one and put it on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it somewhere, so I'll show it to you guys.
Sweet.
Well, thank you for coming out, Chris.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks to Chris McDole
Appreciate
for
it.
Busy,
Thank
busy
you.
guy.
This is good.
And giving
Not
us
as
a couple
bad.
hours of your time.
Not as bad as I thought. It's good.
I'd like to
It's
do
better,
some-
right?
I'd like to
Yeah,
do something in the future too. Where speaking of just like the history stuff, like a lot of the people that we listen to actually like the strongman stuff. So maybe we talk a little bit about like another episode. We could talk about just like growing the sport of strongman in Manitoba, because you were kind of there from the inception of it, pretty much, right?
Well, I feel like there's been like you're kind of in the new renaissance of it, and I feel like we tried, like it's always those guys, like I said, to drop names like I can't remember who's Ryan Epsy,
Espy.
or whatever,
Espy.
and like Hildebrand and Brent Ham. And there's another guy that escapes me right now, and then like a good buddy of mine, Jeff Ingram at the time.
Yeah.
All those guys that were like in the Highland Games. These are all guys that like never got enough publicity, and then I was kind of like new on scene and wanted to breathe some light into it, and it was really tough getting it going because I think there was some always politics with everything, and so like I said, I'm super happy now that it's kind of got this new renaissance with it. So yeah, it'd be great to bring
love to do
and
something
talk
like
about
that.
those guys.
I still chat with Jeff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ingram would actually be a good guest.
Oh, if he's ever out, I would love to have. I should shoot him a message.
The day you
might
scared
be
if you got 2 seconds here, I don't know if you're running
Yeah, oh,
that
yeah, we
tape
got time,
there.
yeah.
The day you scared the shit out of Beeks in the gym.
I don't know.
I had just gotten keys. Like I'm brand new working for McDole. Just gotten keys. We had a class that started at 5 a.m. I'm like, university student. I stay up till midnight. I think I'm invincible. I get up, and so I'm half asleep. I pull up to the gym, and the lights are already on. So you're kind of like, what's going on? But maybe Chris left them on last night or whatever. Door's locked. Oh, that's weird. So I unlock the door and open it, and there is the darkest metal I've ever heard. I don't know what to like. Gojira times 10. Yeah. What? Like if someone broke in and they're robbing the place, why are they blasting me? Like I have no idea what's going on. And this is probably the inception of mine and yours terrible communication.
Sure. Yep.
So I'm just completely confused with what's going on, and I turn the corner, and it's like 10-5 at the time. Ingram, who looked like you did,
Gigantic.
like he's 6'4", 6'5".
He's a cartoon
big
character.
dude.
He's a he looks like he's a D&D guy for sure.
Yeah.
I turn the corner, and he's probably got like 500 pounds on the trap bar, topless, shorts on, with his music blaring, and I go,
Hello?
who is this guy? Am I supposed to tell him to leave?
Yeah.
What if I do tell him to leave and he doesn't take? I had no idea what to do.
What if he tells me to leave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and just the friendliest guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ingram's fantastic. But that I'll never forget that moment.
It's so funny. And then I was like, oh, yeah, no, sorry, yeah. He's our friend at his training in the morning.
Yeah.
That's where I met him.
Oh, I
was
should have mentioned
McDole's.
that. Yeah.
He gave me a bunch of advice to McDole's, and we ended up becoming buddies.
Yeah.
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 All right, so we got Beakley Mobile, Deadlift for Dreams. Deadlift for Dreams is coming up soon. Make sure you sign up for it. Don't waste any time. At the very least, sign up and do the donation thing if you're not going to lift, although you should lift too.
Yep. Truck deadlift this year. With,
yeah.
with the amount of strong men and strong women that you guys train,
Yeah.
we have the truck deadlift as an option this year instead of your not conventional. You can also do sumo,
Traditional.
regular ass traditional deadlift.
Yeah.
But we also have the truck deadlift, and I think it's going to add a lot to the show, and I think it's a great option for competitors, whether they've done it before, whether they're competitive strongmen, or they just want to give it a go. I think it's a great addition this year.
Awesome. McDole doesn't want to be reached.
Nothing.
At Manitoba Strongman, at Strong and Petty, at Training Grounds Gym, at Devin Penner, at Chud Life, at Iron Age Strength. That was weird.
Yeah.
If you guys see Devin out, buy him a Bud Light, and have a good night.
You buy Devin a Bud Light, he'll give you Chris's address.
Full name, too.
Yeah.